Hello everyone, welcome to US Daily News Channel. The diplomatic attitude of France at the beginning against the folly initiated by Russia in Eastern Europe and the invasion of Ukraine has now become much tougher and has brought the level of deterrence to nuclear. Initially at the beginning of the conflict, France and Germany were still trying to resolve the issue and soften relations with Russia. However, the Mediterranean of France and Germany has no effect and the contradictions are still escalating to the present level. Now, it seems impossible to make relationships easier. Almost all Europe is on the opposite side of Russia. France is also showing its muscles quickly against Russia. The situation in the world over the past few months can be described as turbulent, as the United States is constantly changing Russia's bottom line and people have been panicking for a while. But in this tense moment, France is on the edge. According to the reports, France recently sent the Triumph-class ballistic missile submarines to patrol the sea. This is no small event. France has never experienced such a great war in the last 30 years. The Triumph-class nuclear submarines are the most advanced nuclear submarines in active service in France. In total, there are only 4 nuclear submarines, where in the past France sent only 1 ballistic missile nuclear submarine at this level on patrol. Now it has sent 3 nuclear submarines directly to the patrol. It's hard not to notice such a big move. In addition, a Triumph-class nuclear submarine can carry 48 nuclear bombs, and the total number of nuclear bombs carried by the 3 nuclear submarines is 48, which is enough to destroy even a small country. It seems that since the beginning of the conflict between Russia and Eastern Europe, France has begun to expand its deterrent power, and this time it has demonstrated its nuclear weapons power. It seems that he still does not leave Russia. But there are not the only strengths of France. The French Air Force has been on the move for a while, and France has recently successfully researched a new air-launched weapon. However, compared to Russia, France is still very sensitive. When it comes to nuclear weapons, no country in the world can compare with Russia. The number of nuclear bombs in Russia is more than 20 times that France. If Putin really wants to use nuclear weapons, then all of Europe and even the world will suffer. What is the use of French nuclear weapons? Moreover, Russia is a warring nation. Putin said long ago that the existence of the Russian world means nothing. In the face of France's behavior, showing its nuclear muscles, Putin has expressed his stance for a long time. Earlier, the Russian foreign minister had made it clear that the Third World War would be a nuclear war. More importantly, Russia's nuclear weapons also become war-ready early on. Means that Russia has the possibility of starting a nuclear war at any time. The United States is Russia's primary target, and the United European Front and the United States have absolutely nothing to gain. Now, France is the first country to show its strengths against Russia. We can only hope that the United States does not continue to fight and do not put Russia in a stalemate. Otherwise, nuclear weapons will be used and the consequences will be disastrous. Undoubtedly, the Russian occupation of Ukraine came as a huge shock to France, because at the beginning of February, French President Emmanuel Macron said that he had a positive meeting with Russian Federation President Vladimir Putin. However, at the time, some sources perceived Putin's attitude towards Macron as very insulting. As a result, an unforeseen war broke out despite some diplomatic efforts of France, and France seems to have been caught unprepared for this crisis. As a result of this shock in France, French companies in Russia are now under great pressure. The import of Russian gas is stopped in France. Even if this is perceived as a sanction against Russia at first, it will also pose serious difficulties for France. Also, the chief of French military intelligence, General Eric Vidal, is losing his job for failing to predict Russia's war in Ukraine. 7 months after General Eric Vidal assumed the role, a report said he was accused of inadequate briefing and lack of understanding. While the United States correctly assumed that Russia was planning a large-scale invasion, France concluded that this was unlikely. A source said General Vidal was blamed for this by a French military chief. But the military source said in the statement that his mission was to provide military intelligence on the operations, not on purpose. General Vidal Service concluded that Russia has the means to invade Ukraine, while the source said what happened justified him. A military spokesman said the commander of French armed forces, General Thierry Burkhardt, did not comment. However, in early March, General Burkhardt acknowledged that French intelligence did not rise to the level of US or UK briefings issued to put pressure on Russia's Vladimir Putin. The Americans said the Russians would attack. They were right, he told the newspaper Le Monde. Our services instead thought that the cost of conquering Ukraine would be dire and that the Russians had no other options to overthrow Ukraine's government of Volodymyr Zelensky, he said. It was even more embarrassing for France to misread President Putin because President Emmanuel Macron had spoken to him regularly in the days before the invasion on February 24. Intelligence expert Professor Alexander Papaemmanuel said it's also too easy to blame military intelligence for the failure, which concerns France's entire intelligence community. However, it seems that General Vidal, the former Special Forces commander of France, was dismissed for other reasons as well. Weeks after he took charge of military intelligence, his service came under criticism when Australia cancelled multi-million-dollar submarine contract with France in favor of a security deal with the US and Britain. The AUKUS agreement appeared out of nowhere in France and sparked a diplomatic debate. Meanwhile, Germany and France are preparing to reduce gas supplies in Russia after President Vladimir Putin's announcement that EU purchases should be made in rubles from April 1st. Berlin has already warned that Europe will not be blackmailed by Moscow. Putin warned on Thursday that non-enemy countries, including all EU members, will be cut off from Russian gas unless they open Russian bank accounts in rubles for deliveries. If such payments are not made, we will consider it a breach of obligations on behalf of our buyers with all the consequences, Putin said on a televised government meeting. Germany and France dismissed Vladimir Putin's request for paying in rubles for foreign purchasing Russian gas as an unacceptable breach of contract, adding that the maneuver was blackmail. German Economy Minister Robert Habeck said that Germany is ready for all scenarios, including Russia stopping the flow of gas to Europe. It's important for us not to give any indication that Putin will blackmail us, he said. French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire said both countries rejected Russia's request and were prepared for the possibility of Russia stopping deliveries. During his visit to Berlin, Le Maire said both countries were prepared for the possibilities that there will be no more Russian gas. The United States banned the import of Russian oil and gas, while the European Union, which in 2021 received about 40% of its gas supply from Russia, retained deliveries from Moscow. According to the decree, all payments will be made by Russian Gazprom, a subsidiary of state energy giant Gazprom. Recipients will transfer payments in foreign currency to a Gazprom bank account, which the bank will then convert into rubles, then transfer to recipient's ruble account. Western countries have piled up heavy sanctions on Moscow since its invasion of Ukraine, including the freezing of $300 billion in foreign exchange reserves.